So you have an e-commerce dropshipping store that's doing about $500 per day, and you're wondering how you can scale it profitably to about $5,000 per day in revenue. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you through some of the top scaling tactics that I have used for seven-figure e-commerce brands, clients, and huge stores over the years on Facebook and also for TikTok marketing. So these rules apply for both Facebook and TikTok. Specifically in this video, we're going through TikTok, but we will be following this template that I will leave in the description down below. You can go ahead and visit my website and you can download this template for free. Now, these are some very advanced TikTok scaling strategies. So I've written a disclaimer here saying only use these if you're experienced in advertising. Now, the reason for that is there are opportunities here to spend a huge amount of budget. And if you don't have that budget or you're unsure about scaling your ads too quickly and too aggressively, then this is not the strategy for you because you can lose budget. Now, I have slipped in a couple in here which are suitable for people who are less experienced. There are some strategies in here that you can sort of take ideas from, and you can edit them for yourself. But without any further ado, let's dive into today's video. I want to take you through some of the up-to-date methods and some of the things that have worked for me in the past. So, first of all, this is the part 2 of a 2-part series or an ongoing series of scaling TikTok ads. If you want to see any more content on TikTok advertising, you can go ahead and view part 1, where I take you through how you can get from $0 to $500 per day. That will be linked in the same playlist that this video is in. It's the TikTok ads playlist. Alternatively, you can go ahead onto my channel and search for it. If I have time, I'll add it to the card as well. So in this video, we're going to be taking you through I think it's 2 or 3 scaling strategies. The first one is what I like to call the sneak attack, and this utilizes the TikTok manual bidding strategy. Now, I've written some information around this. Each of these campaigns have their own information specific to each campaign, so go ahead and read them and make sure if you are building your campaigns following these templates, you follow them to a T. You don't skip out anything, you don't skip any steps, otherwise you will lose thousands of dollars. So, first of all, what is the sneak attack campaign? Well, we're going to be utilizing manual bidding. So for those of you who don't understand what manual bidding is, I will be releasing a manual bidding video in the future, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It will be within this same playlist. There will also be a free download within that video as well. Now, this sneak attack campaign is going to be following this structure. We're going to have one campaign. It's going to be an ABO campaign. We're going to be setting budget limits on this campaign, and I'll go through it on TikTok ads as well so you can see visually how we set this up. It's going to have 10 ad groups. We're going to have $2,000 per day on ad groups. We're going to be using manual bidding and dynamic creatives, or it's actually called automated creative optimization on TikTok. But essentially what we're using are our best performing ads, and we're going to allow TikTok algorithm to choose between them. So step 1, we want to create the campaign. The campaign we're going to label sneak attack, or you can label it whatever you want, but I like to call it sneak attack. We're going to then set the budget limit to $200 to $500 per day. Now, the budget limit is basically to make sure that you don't accidentally spend about $20,000 in one day. We want to make sure that we are keeping an eye on things. We want to make sure that we're not overspending. We can always increase the daily spend if we want to. So that's just more of a security feature in case you make a mistake. Believe me, you can make a mistake and it can end badly. So make sure you have a budget limit set. And this is going to be a typical conversions campaign. Now, step 2 is the ad group level. We're going to be running 10 ad groups. Now, I always recommend to run 10 identical ad groups. These ad groups are set up following this structure. So we're going to have a complete payment ad group. Obviously, we're going to be focusing for the complete payment conversion. We're going to be going for automated creative optimization. We're going to be turning that one on. You want to turn off your comments and off your video download. We're doing TikTok placements only. Broad targeting, so that's no interests, that's no behaviors, that's no hashtags, that's no creators, anything, just completely broad. No gender limit, so both male and female. 18 plus, so excluding 13 to 17 year olds. $2,000 per day budget. We're going to be spending all day, so we're not doing day parting for this one. We can do day parting if you want to. You can then test these out. You can set up specific to hours of the day what we'll spend, following the rest of the structure exactly the same. And we're going to be setting our cost cap to X dollars. Now, in a minute, right at the end of the video, I'm going to be taking you through the bidding strategy that we will be using for this. The reason I'm doing it at the end of the video is because it is relevant to other campaigns and structures, and I want to highlight those first before we go into the bidding strategies. So make sure you stick around to the end to see that bidding strategy. Otherwise, I guarantee you will lose tens of thousands of dollars. If you do use the bidding strategy at the end of the video, you'll probably make tens of thousands of dollars. So it's worth sticking around. And then step number 3 is we're going to be creating the following ads. So each ad group will have 3 to 5 of our best performing video ads. Now in step 1 or part 1 of this series, I showed you how to create a creative testing campaign. In that creative testing campaign, we're testing out different videos, different hooks, different music, all sorts of things to identify our winning creative combinations. We're then going to take the top 3 to 5 videos and we're going to be using those within the automated creative optimization on TikTok for this scaling campaign. So you want to upload or choose from your library 5 videos, 3 to 5 videos. Don't do any more than 5, it's just going to be too many, TikTok won't spend on them. Then we want to use 2 to 4 best headlines. Now these headlines aren't as important. Within your creative testing, you want to be testing headlines as well, so you want to use those. And then we're going to be using dynamic call to actions. So let me just quickly build an example campaign for you. Okay, so this is how we've got it set up. This is just a conversions campaign. We've called it Sneak Attack. And make sure it's not campaign budget optimization, so that has to be turned off. And we're going to set our daily limit to $500 per day. Okay, so this is the template that you're going to be using to create your ad groups. Now, because we're going to be using 10, we're just going to use the duplicate feature. So we won't have to do this 10 times. We'll build this one ad group with the ads, and then once we're done, we'll then duplicate it 9 more times. Now, I'm not going to go through the actual duplication phase. I assume at this point, if you're scaling to this level, you understand how to duplicate ad groups. If you don't, then you shouldn't be scaling at this level. So first of all, obviously give it a name. I've just called it ad group 1. Now, because it's broad targeting and I know what I'm doing in this campaign, I don't necessarily need to give it any more detailed naming convention. If we were using UTM tracking, like we're going to be using in one of the other campaigns, then we will need a more descriptive name, but in this case we don't. So let's move on. We then want to add the pixel. So this is going to be the pixel that we've been using all along. This is the pixel with the most amount of data. We want to be using the one that has got the most amount of purchases and it's been used more recently than any of the other ones you've been using to test. Obviously we're going for the complete payment optimization event. Select placement is only TikTok. You want to turn off user comment and video download. Now we don't want hundreds of comments that we're going to have to moderate. If you're getting positive comments, then you can always leave it on, but I always recommend at this scale, just turn it off. It saves you time. Video download, also turn off. Now this is the important feature. Remember to turn on automated creative optimization. If you don't remember it, you're going to have to rebuild the ad group and it's just going to take more time. So switch this one on and then you're ready to go. Then custom targeting. So we're not doing automated targeting. We don't have time for that. So we're going to go custom targeting, United States or whatever country you're targeting. It can be Canada, US, UK, whatever. If you do want to see a video on how, if you're in another country other than the US, how you can target the US, leave a comment down below and I will film a video on that. But basically you want to get NordVPN. There is a link in the description if you want to sign up for that. And then you want to go ahead and do no gender. We're going to do limit from 18 to 55 plus. Everything else is going to be open, so no targeting at all. You see all these 4 options, there's not a single thing selected in here, so please don't add anything in here, it's very important. Then you want to come down and you want to select your daily budget as $2,000 per day. Now, the reason we had our campaign set at $500 is just so we can maintain or we can control our spend. Now, we're going to have 10 campaigns at $2,000 a day. Now, quick maths tells us that's $20,000 per day in total spend. So make sure that you have your limit on as well. Now, this is the important thing. You want to have a cost cap set. Please, please, please do not leave it on lowest cost. If you leave it on lowest cost, you will lose a lot of money. So make sure you click cost cap. Again, if you select lowest cost and you create the ad group and you don't realize and then you duplicate it 9 more times, you've got $20,000 a day spending without any limits on there at all. So please set cost cap. And again, once it's created, you can't go in and edit it, so you'll have to delete it and remake it. So cost cap has to be set. And we're going to follow the bidding structure that I will mention at the end of the video. Now, the next thing you want to do is set up your ads following this strategy here. We've all done it before. I'm not going to show you again. It's very, very simple on creating the ads. So the goal of this campaign is essentially to adjust the bid every 30 minutes. We're trying to find the sweet spot between spend and conversions. We want to make sure we're spending enough, but we're also getting cheap enough conversions. And essentially, I'll do another video on manual bidding for TikTok, but we are trying to win the auction, or at least compete in the auction that gives us the cheapest sales and gives us the best ROAS while maintaining the best spend. Now, this isn't going to be the way of scaling to huge numbers, but it is going to help us maintain a profitable ROAS while we're scaling. So what you want to be doing is following this strategy I know it's at the bottom, so we'll go through the bidding strategy. But essentially, every 30 minutes, you ought to be adjusting your spend, increasing it by $1 to $2 each time until you start to see it spending. Once it starts spending, give it some time, see if it's spending enough and bringing in conversions. If it's bringing in enough, then you want to leave it. If it's bringing in some sales but not as many and not spending as much as you'd like, then you want to increase the bid by another $1 every 15 or 30 minutes or so. Once it starts bringing in sales at a comfortable level, with a comfortable amount of spend, leave it. Do not adjust the bid at all. Now, if over another 2-hour period you see there's a lack of sales, there's no sales coming in, and the total CPA starts to rise, drop the bid down by $2 or $1 just to slow things down a bit and just force the CPA to be lower through TikTok's algorithm. Essentially, you have to be sitting in front of the computer while you're doing this. That way you have more control over the spend and more control over the ROAS of your campaign. So let's get started on our CBO scaling campaign. This is one of the easier ones, and this is sort of in that level of people who are more intermediate or experienced. This is basically allowing us to create a campaign, but utilizing the zero data pixel method, which you've probably heard of. I've mentioned it before on this account, and we'll take you through in more detail. Now, before you even get started on this, you want to go ahead and click the link down below. It's a link to get set up with ClickMagick. ClickMagick is a UTM tracking tool that is imperative for this strategy. And in fact, if you're scaling your campaigns at all, you want to be using ClickMagick. It'll help you add and track all of your sales. So TikTok probably tracks about 70 or 80% of the sales, which means you're making an uninformed decision when you're optimizing your ads. So you want to make sure you're tracking as many of those sales as possible. So the link is in this document. Here, you can sign up here if you want, or if you're signing up from this video, go ahead and click, it will be the top link or the second link in the description just after this download link, and it will take you to this site. You can get a 14-day free trial. I think it's only about $30 a month once you sign up. You only need to start a plan, and it is incredibly useful. If you're spending $500 a day and you can't afford $35 per month, then you shouldn't be spending $5,000 or $500 per day on ads. And it will allow us to track things and make more profit. So what is the structure of this campaign? Well, first of all, you want to head to your events manager within TikTok. You want to create a new pixel, but you do not want to link it to your Shopify store or your e-commerce store. This is merely just for TikTok's side. They just need to have a pixel, but you don't want to have it tracking anything. So we're starting from 0 at this point. Then you want to go ahead and create a campaign following this structure. We're going to have 5 ad groups with 1 campaign. This is going to be a CBO at $200 per day. Now, you can adjust the budgets for whatever you want. I would say minimum 200. You can go 100 if you want, but I would say minimum 200. You can go all the way up to about 900 or 1,000 if you really wanted to. Then we're going to create 5 ad groups following this structure. So it's going to be a complete payment campaign, much like the other one. We're going to be going broad for our first ad group. Then we're going to be using the no gender limit, so both male and female. If you are selling a female only product, then obviously you can just target females. This is less important. The gender side of things is less important for this one. You can play around with ages and genders a bit if you want to. I recommend leaving it completely broad, but it's really up to you depending on what you've seen from your tests. Essentially, we're saying anything that's worked at low scale, we want to put it in this CBO campaign. So if you have a broad ad group from an audience test that was targeting just females aged 25 to 34, then we can use that as opposed to following this exact structure. Essentially, we're saying this pocket of audience works, let's spend more on this pocket of audience, but we're allowing TikTok to optimize how much budget they put into it. And we're doing all day, so no day parting. We're then going to duplicate this campaign 4 more times, so this ad group 4 more times. Each of those times, we're going to put in a different winning interest. So whether we've done a behavior interest or hashtag or creators, whatever we've done, we can then put in here, but these have to be top performers. Now, I have put a caveat here. We want to have 5 ad groups. Now, let's say, for example, we have broad and 2 interests, but we don't have 2 more interests that were working, then we can duplicate. So for example, we can say winning interest 1 and winning interest 2. If we have no more interests, we can just duplicate these 2 twice. Or alternatively, if broad and winning interest 1 were doing our best in our original tests, then we can have them duplicated twice. The reason for this is each time you create an ad group, it puts it into a different pocket of that audience, so there's a higher chance of it working at scale when you've got 2 of them. If you can obviously have 5 individual ones, then go for 5, but if not, then follow the duplication structure that I just mentioned. And obviously all of these, everything is the same. We're only changing the interest or the gender or the age, depending on what's worked before. Now, each of these can be different. So we can have broad with no gender and 18. We can have winning interest, females 25 to 34. We can have winning interest 2, males, all age ranges. It can be whatever you want as long as it's worked before, all in one CBO campaign. And then this is the important part, so please pay attention here. This is where we set up the UTM tracking with ClickMagick. So again, it's the second link in the description. You can sign up for ClickMagick 14-day free trial, but you only want the standard plan once you do end up paying for it. Here we create an ad URL using the URL parameters, so UTM parameters below. I've put in some examples here so you can see what it looks like. But essentially, you want to create the UTM source as, it says Facebook here, that's my mistake, it should be TikTok. Your medium needs to be just put placement in the word, it doesn't matter. You can put TikTok placement, whatever you want, that one really doesn't matter, but you have to have it filled out. And then the campaign needs to be the name of this campaign. So I've called it CBO scaling, you know, this is the campaign here. If you've called it CBO scaling 2, write in CBO scaling 2 here. This is merely for your reference. If you do this wrong, then you're not going to do it, you're not going to be able to optimize properly. UTM term, we're going to use that to denote the ad group name, and the UTM content, we're going to use that to denote the ad name. Now this is where things become complicated and laborious, but it's worth doing. If you create one ad group, you want to go in and edit the ad, because this is going to produce a link. Your link is going to be yourwebsite.com UTM source TikTok UTM medium placement UTM campaign, so forth and so on. Then what will happen is we'll use that campaign, that link, and we'll paste that into the ad. So each ad has its own ad name, which is the UTM content. So for example, if we had CBO scaling campaign was our first campaign, we're doing this for interest number 1, we would call the UTM term interest 1, and we're pasting this link into ad 1, we would put ad 1 here. Same goes for the same ad group, so you CBO scaling interest 1, but for ad 2 we'd put ad 2 in here, so on and so forth until we're done with those ads. The reason for this is we can then track within the UTM tracking tool within ClickMagick which ads are making sales and which ad groups are making sales, so we can then optimize without having to send that data back to TikTok, because we're trying to utilize the zero data strategy on TikTok. So it's very important that you set up these UTMs correctly. Now, obviously, once you've done this for your first ad group, you'll then duplicate your ad group to create, let's say, interest 2, but you will have to go in and edit the URL in each of those ads again. So here we go. We'll have CBO scaling is your campaign name, but now we're doing interest 2. Interest 1's already been published. And then we're going to have ad 1, paste the link in. We're going to click on ad 2, and then we're going to change it to say ad 2. Then we're going to go to ad 3, change it to say ad 3, and then we're going to publish that. Same goes for when we produce interest 3. So everything will be the same. CBO scaling campaign. We're going to have interest 2, ad 1, ad 2, ad 3, so on and so forth. I'm sure you understand now, but it makes it very easy to track things once you've done it like that. It takes a bit of time to set up, but once you've got it set up, things will be very smooth sailing. And then you want to allow the campaign to spend. We're basically going to let it optimize over a 24 to 48 hour window before we even touch it. So you have to be comfortable with losing up to $400 basically. The theory here being that once we start getting some traction, that it will begin to really get into a groove and start making sales. So I usually say after 24 hours, then you want to optimize the ads only. If the ads aren't making sales, turn them off. Follow the optimization strategies that I produced in the previous video, which is part 1, $0 to $500 per day TikTok scaling strategy. You want to optimize your ads first, then probably around 24 hours later, or 12 hours later, you then want to optimize your ad group level. So you'll have a CBO with 5 ad groups. Gradually, you'll turn off ad groups that aren't performing as well. So eventually, you'll probably have a CBO with 2 ad groups that will be spending $200 to $500 per day only over 2 ad groups. Now, don't feel worried about turning off ad groups within the CBO. That's perfectly fine. You'll probably find that it'll be spending budgets randomly all over the place because it doesn't know which one's making sales. But over time, once you're tracking your work through the UTM tracker, you'll probably find some of the ad groups are insanely profitable. So only leave those ones on. So that's how we do it. And then finally, we have the vertical scaling strategy. This is sort of the basic one, which is for people who want to start scaling but not go mental. And essentially, we're going to be picking out our winning audiences within our audience testing campaign. Anything that is doing well, we increase the budget by 20%. And then 3 days later, we come back to it and we increase it by 20% again if the ROAS has been profitable over the previous 3 days. So for example, I've said here, if today is the 4th of the month, if the ads have been profitable on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd, i.e. the ROAS has been, let's say 2.5 or whatever the benchmark is we're going for, then we want to increase the budget by 20%, let it run for 3 more days. If after another 3 days, we then see that the ROAS has dipped for that 3-day period, we don't want to look at anything prior to that. We're basically saying we've made a change, let's see what happens for the next 3 days. Then base your next change on that previous 3 days. So now it's the 4th, 5th, 6th, it's now the 7th. You want to have a look back over the previous, it's now the 8th. You want to have a look at the 4th, 5th, the 5th, 6th and 7th. And if the 5th, 6th and 7th haven't been profitable, then you want to decrease your spend by 10%. So just to run through that again, you set up your ads on the 1st, you let them run 1st, 2nd, 3rd. On the 4th, you then make a change. So you say on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd it was profitable, increase the budget by 20%. Then on the 5th, 6th and 7th, you leave it, you don't touch anything, it's had its budget increased. And then when it gets to the 8th, you then look back at the 5th, 6th and 7th. If the ROAS has dipped, then you decrease the budget by 10%, and you keep this rolling along for as long as you can keep this ad group profitable. Now, there will be situations where the ad group will just die, and obviously in that case you just turn it off. So that's the basic vertical scaling structure that you should follow. The reason we decrease the budget is it kind of tells TikTok that actually this ad group's not working. Let's just take the budget away from this for a bit. And then hopefully it'll then increase in ROAS again. Now, on to the bit you've all been waiting for, which is my bidding pyramid for the Sneak Attack campaign. The reason I left this to the end is because it's incredibly important on how you calculate it and how you do it, so please pay attention to this, it's very important. Step 1, we want to calculate our optimum cost cap. Now, the way I calculate this optimum cost cap is essentially the CPA that I'm going for. Now, I've written out an example here saying our break even for the product that we're selling is a $30 cost. Now, if we spend $30 to make a purchase, we're going to break even. We're not going to lose anything, we're not going to make anything. Now, if we made sales at a $15 CPA, so cost per acquisition or cost per purchase, then we'd be making $15 profit on every order. So in my mind, an optimum cost cap there is $15. Now, you can really kind of decide on what you want that to be. If you come up and say it's $5, I can guarantee you right now your ads won't spend. So ideally, you want your cost cap to be anywhere between $15 to $20 for your starting cost cap. So just to run you through it again, on our Sneak Attack campaign, which is this one here, because we're setting an X dollar cost cap, you want to set it between $15 and $20. You know, if you can go for $12, that's perfectly fine, but really anything below 10 is just not going to spend. So that's your calculated cost cap. There is one caveat, however. If you follow this formula here and your number comes out to, say, $35 cost cap, please do not set your initial cost cap to $35. You will lose all of your money. Now, I have said make sure your cost cap is below $30. So you can see here in step 2, keep your cost cap below $30. So if you calculate it as an optimum cost cap for $35, just set it to $25 and see what happens. Sometimes it will spend, sometimes it won't. Realistically, if you get to a cost cap above $30, it's not going to spend or it's not going to work. You've done something wrong. It's just in the wrong pocket of audience. Maybe there's not enough data. Maybe the audience isn't big enough. Maybe there's not enough ads, in which case you need to go back to the drawing board. Now, the Sneak Attack will not always spend. This is a sort of one-off thing. Sometimes it will spend, sometimes it won't. Some days it will spend, some days it won't. It's more of just that you've got to sit there and see what happens on the time of day that you're doing it. Then step 3, you want to increase your cost cap every 30 minutes. Now, I mentioned this at the start of the video, but I'll go through it again. Every 30 minutes, you want to increase your cost cap. So say, for example, we're starting at $15. We want to say, well, see what happens for the first 30 minutes. If nothing's spent, then we'll increase it to $17. See what happens for the next 30 minutes. If it hasn't spent, increase it to $19. Leave it for 30 minutes. Okay, now it's started to spend. We've spent $20 or we've spent $30. For example, we've made a purchase. Excellent. Now we know we're getting close to the threshold where we're getting spend and we're getting sales. This is kind of our optimum point where we're trying to find the balance between spend and the number of sales that we're making. So $19 is our benchmark. By the way, all of this is being adjusted across all 10 ad groups. So every single ad group should have the exact same cost cap. So when you update one, update the rest of them. Obviously, unless one of them's massively outcompeting the other one, in which case then adjust accordingly. Then at this point, once you're starting to make sales, you then want to increase by $1 increments. So now it's $20, give it 15 minutes, see if it's spending more. Another $1, so now at $21 cost cap, and now we're spending a good $50 to $100 per hour. It's going very well, we're bringing in good sales, we want to leave it. That's the point where we've reached our optimum spend amount. We're making sales at around maybe $18 cost per purchase, we're making a good $12, $13 profit on every single order, and we're spending enough to make it scale, so we'll leave it at that point. If you then see over a period of 2, maybe 3 hours, things start to slow down and your total cost per purchase starts to rise above a comfortable threshold. Say, for example, we're now at $25 cost per purchase, so we're now only making $5 profit per order over the whole period of lifetime this ad group's been running, then we want to start decreasing our bid. This is why I call it the bidding pyramid, because we increase it, then once it starts to perform badly, we then decrease the bid by $1 each time. And this is obviously every 30 minutes from when you notice it performing badly. And that's it. That's really as simple as it is. You just want to mess around with your bid, gradually increasing it until you get spend. Once you're getting enough spend, leave it. If performance drops, decrease your bid. And that's about it. So guys, I hope this was very informative for you. If you do want to go ahead and download this template, it is in the description. It will be the top link in the description. You can go ahead and download this and follow it step by step. If you find there's too much here for you to go through, then I can help you run the ads. I have a coaching program where I'm helping. It's not a one-on-one, it's more of a coaching thing. It's also not free, but if you do want to sign up for that, then you can book a call with me. It's the link in the description. It'll probably be the second link or the third link. And also if you want to sign up for ClickMagick, which I recommend if you're scaling, that will be the second or third link in the description as well. So without any further ado, guys, I will see you in the next video. If you have any ideas of future videos you want to see, do leave a comment down below.